Some of you can answer in a yes. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll start in about another 1-2 minutes. If there are any doubts pertaining to the last class, you can type in the chat box. Just in a while, we'll start with the next basic term. This is in fact not a term, but a law, very important law that is used in the field of industrial metallurgy, and it's called Gibbs phase rule. You've already done this in material science, but again, we'll devote this session to clarify it further and do it in a little more detail from the applications point of view of this of this rule in the field of metallurgy. Okay, so let me show you the contents that we'll try to cover.
हम दोनों का सेम से पढ़ा है.
Somebody is asking if there is a holiday tomorrow. I am not even aware on that, and definitely by this afternoon, I shall send message pertaining to this to one of the GRs. I hope that would be fine. Thank you. Okay, students. So let's start. You see. Okay. So we are still covering the basics which are required in industrial metallurgy. And this is what we are going to discuss in today's lecture. What is Gibbs phase rule? What do we mean by the journal Gibbs phase rule? And what is then condensed Gibbs phase rule? And there is also Gibbs phase rule under special equilibrium conditions. So we'll talk a little about it. And finally, what are the applications of this rule or this law in the field of industrial metallurgy? So Gibbs phase rule, I hope each one of you has heard about this term in one of your subjects in the past. And this is a mathematical expression which relates 4 quantities. So I'll show you. So Gibbs phase rule is a mathematical expression which students provides quantitative relationship between 4 parameters pertaining to a materials system present under some given conditions. But essentially, this rule would be applicable only when the material system was brought to those conditions of pressure, temperature, etc. through very, very slow cooling or through very, very slow heating. Means equilibrium treatment had been given to the material system. And this equation is given by this equation that I'll show. P plus F is C plus E. So whenever any material system has been brought to some conditions of temperature and pressure, and it has been brought to those conditions of pressure and temperature through equilibrium treatment, through very slow heating, through very slow cooling, then this rule is applicable. And then when that material system is present under those conditions of pressure, temperature, composition, etc., this rule holds good for that materials system. And what are these 4 parameters that are there? These 4 parameters are: number 1, we have the number of phases that one can see in that material system. What is F? F is the degrees of freedom that are available with the material system under those conditions. C is the number of components that are comprising that materials system. And finally, E is the number of external variables. What are these number of external variables? These are the total number of external variables which can be changed, which can be altered, which can be controlled. So in order to bring about changes in the phase relationships present in the material system. For example, you say, sir, I am preparing this, I am preparing or I am manufacturing this special alloy in the industry. And sir, there are only two external parameters. See, mind you students, composition is a very, very essential parameter, but composition is an internal variable. It is not considered in this rule. Please, composition is a very, very important variable which can change everything for the material system, but that is not an external variable. That is an internal variable of the material system. Here in the Gibbs phase rule, when it was proved through the laws of thermodynamics, right, that is beyond the scope of a UG course, how do we actually deduce this law, but the derivation of this law comes from the field of thermodynamics. Okay, we are matching the free energy and then we have deduced this law. But what I am trying to emphasize upon at this point in time is that this E is very important to understand. In most of the books, it's simply written Gibbs phase rule is P plus F is equal to C plus 2. But the students need to understand what is that 2. That in fact is not 2. 2 we have written because on most of the equations, the total number of external variables which can affect the phases present in a material system are 2. But there can be other cases also. So this E is the total number of external parameters which can be changed or which are being changed in order to process the material system. So just as said, most of the binary alloys which are manufactured in the industry, apart from composition, which is not an external variable, the two parameters which generally are changed, altered, controlled through which the material system is processed are pressure and temperature. So generally you'll find 2 over here. But for example, you are treating generally binary alloys are always manufactured at 1 atmospheric pressure. So their pressure is fixed. Pressure is not a variable. You'll be left with only one external variable, that is temperature. But at times you can have 5 different variables. I'll talk about it. So what is this E? This is the total number of external parameters that you can change for the material system in order to process it. Or in other words, in order to bring about changes in its phases and other things. So P plus F is equal to C plus 2. C plus E, sorry, is the Gibbs phase rule. And one important thing which I said it over here also, that Gibbs phase rule can be applied to a material system only if the material system has been treated under strict conditions of equilibrium. So for example, if you say, sir, I plan to apply the Gibbs phase rule for my material system, which is now present at 800 degrees centigrade. I ask you, when it was present at room temperature, how did you actually take this material system to 800 degrees centigrade? You said, sir, I used a very fast heating rate. We have got an induction furnace which can give me rates as fast as 500 degrees centigrade per second. I'll say, please, you cannot apply Gibbs phase rule to this material system present at 800 degrees centigrade because you have not treated it under equilibrium conditions, right? But another student who took this from the room temperature and did very controlled heating of say 10 degrees centigrade per hour, that student, when his material system reaches at 800 degrees centigrade, the system is in complete equilibrium, is stable, and now you can apply Gibbs phase rule to that type of a system. So that's the point that we'll be trying to make in the last bullet point of the slide, that Gibbs phase rule is valid for a material system only if the system has been treated under strict conditions of equilibrium. That is, when you try to reach a particular temperature, either high or low, you did it through very, very slow heating, very, very slow cooling. Okay, so students, okay, there is some question that is coming up. Yes, somebody is asking, can we have the value of E greater than 2? Now suppose you were trying to produce your material in a laboratory environment. where deliberately you had kept electrostatic field as a parameter. So you knew that if I change the electrostatic field in which my material system has been placed, it also changes the phase relationships present in the material system. So you suppose you were changing temperature, you were changing pressure, and you were also changing the electrostatic field or the electric field that is being applied to the material system. The Gibbs phase rule would become P plus F is equal to C plus 3. So E can be anything. Somebody is asking how would heating rate affect the Gibbs phase rule. See the point, the other day also we discussed that when you do equilibrium heating, then only whatever processes during the course of heating at different temperatures, whatever processes phenomenon wanted to happen in the system, you allow them complete time to happen. If you do rapid heating for a system, the system would reach the temperature at which you wanted to bring it to. But then that system would not be stable because there are so many different things which wanted to happen in that system. You didn't allow that time for those changes to happen. So the system, when it has reached at its final temperature, will keep on showing changes. You will have to apply Gibbs phase rule time and again to see what exactly is the situation at a particular instant. Whereas had you been doing equilibrium heating or cooling, the final system is completely stable, would show no change with respect to time. So you can apply the Gibbs phase rule. The results of the Gibbs phase rule would be the same if you apply it just on reaching the temperature or even after 10 days of being at that temperature. The same would not be true if you did fast heating or fast cooling. I hope that is clear. Yes, strict conditions of equilibrium means quasi-static processes, very, very slow rates. Absolutely right. Okay, so students, let's move ahead, and then we see that I have given you a broad idea about the Gibbs phase rule, but then now depending upon how many external variables are there, the names that would be attached to the Gibbs phase rule will keep on changing. Okay, so let's see. As I said, generally only two external variables, one is pressure and the other is temperature, are considered to be affecting the phase relationships present in a material system. And as such, the most common form or the most general form of Gibbs phase rule would be where E would be equal to 2. And as such, so whenever pressure and temperature are the only two variables which are affecting the phase relationships present in a material system, the Gibbs phase rule would be called the general Gibbs phase rule. And this is the most common form in which the Gibbs phase rule would be mostly used. So students, general Gibbs phase rule, when only pressure and temperature are the external variables which can affect the phase relationships of your material system, the Gibbs phase rule would become P plus F is equal to C plus 2. Mind you, if nothing is mentioned and you are generally talking to each other about Gibbs phase rule, this is the rule which is meant. Even if it's not spelled out that Gibbs phase rule is to be utilized under what conditions, if it has not been spelled out clearly, it is this. P plus F is equal to C plus 2. And this T2 represents one pressure, second temperature. But mind you, for binary alloys, which we would be studying for the most of our these online lecture series curriculum related to this subject, we'll be dealing with binary alloys. And most of the binary alloys, when they are processed in the industry, they are processed under strict atmospheric pressure conditions. So pressure is fixed at 1 atm. So not even pressure is an external variable. There is only one external variable called temperature. And students, if that is the case, okay, I'll come to this thing first. Okay, let me go the way the slides have been prepared by me. So what I am trying to say here now in the second bullet point, that P plus F is equal to C plus 2. However, there can be many other variables which can affect the phase relationship of a material system. It would depend upon the setup that you are using, the environment that you are using to process your alloy, and these other external parameters which can affect the phase relationships present in a material system, while the processing of the material system include electrostatic forces, magnetic forces, gravitational forces, surface tension forces, etc., etc. And there are many other variables which might be playing a role. So if any of these parameters is such that on changing that parameter, the phase relationships present in a material system can be changed, or in other words, if any of these parameters is an important parameter, changing which brings about a change in the processing results of your material system, then this also, any of these variables, any one or more, whosoever are to be also considered as an external variable. So in the next slide, I am showing that if at any point in time, suppose there were 4 external variables which were affecting your system. For example, it was pressure, then it was temperature, then it was say electric field, and it was magnetic field. Then if that was the case, 4 external variables were affecting the phase relationships of your material system, the rule would get modified and would become this, right? So for binary alloy systems, as I said a while ago, whenever you are talking about any binary alloy, whether it's a steel or a cast iron or a copper nickel alloy or a lead tin alloy or a bismuth cadmium alloy, whatsoever, aluminum silicon alloy, all these important alloys that we commercially used for industrial purposes, for them generally there is only one variable, students, which acts as a variable which can affect the phase relationships present in a material system. One of the variables is composition. We cannot consider it because it's an internal variable. The other important parameter is temperature. So there is generally, most generally, for binary systems, that there is one external variable only, and that is temperature, which is affecting the phase relationships present in the material system. So if that's the case, if temperature happens to be the only external variable acting as an external variable for the processing of your material system, the Gibbs phase rule is called condensed Gibbs phase rule, and it is represented as equation 6.4, P plus F is equal to C plus 1. So if somebody asks you that I'm processing a binary alloy, what should be the Gibbs phase rule I should be using? The answer is you should be using condensed Gibbs phase rule, and condensed Gibbs phase rule would be P plus F is equal to C plus 1. Okay, students. Then let's see that what's the significance of the Gibbs phase rule. Now, most of us would say, sir, out of those 4 parameters, if any 3 parameters are known, then the 4th parameter can be found out. Okay, yes, this is an application. This is a use of the Gibbs phase rule, but this is only a minor application. Means what would you do by finding out that 4th parameter? Or okay, you might have some application in your mind that 3 of the parameters P plus F, C plus E, any 3 are known to me and I want to know the 4th one's value. Fine, you can do it with the help of Gibbs phase rule. That is what I've written over here. But students, this is generally not the application. This is only a minor application, even if you spell it out. The main application, the main use of Gibbs phase rule is to determine the accuracy of equilibrium diagrams. Now, what does that mean? I repeat what I've said. The main function, the main application, the main utility of Gibbs phase rule is to determine whether a given equilibrium system, given equilibrium diagram is accurate or not. Gibbs phase rule would tell you, sir, this equilibrium diagram is absolutely fine. You can use it. But Gibbs phase rule can also tell you, oh, there is a problem with this equilibrium diagram that you have constructed. Please rectify it. Gibbs phase rule may not tell you what rectification has to be done, but it would definitely tell you that the diagram is wrong, has a problem, and you need to re-look into its construction. Now, why would that happen? What do we mean by accuracy of the equilibrium diagram? Students, most generally, whenever you require to understand the microstructure of a material system, you draw its equilibrium diagram, because equilibrium diagram is a graphical representation of what different phases are present in a material system under different conditions of pressure, temperature, composition, etc., etc. So if your material system is present under some condition, your material system of some composition is present at some temperature, and you wish to know that under these conditions, what are the phases present in it, what type of phases are there, what is their weight ratio, what is their chemical composition. All this type of information comes from the equilibrium diagram of that material system. Now, how are these equilibrium diagrams constructed? As I said, most generally, these equilibrium diagrams for different material systems are constructed with the help of experimental methods. You use thermal analysis technique, you use dilatometry technique, you use X-ray diffraction, you use dip sampling, and there are so many different methods. There is quantitative metallurgy through which you do. So generally, when you draw the equilibrium diagram of any material system, you would have used one or more experimental methods to collect the data to draw that diagram. Then you organize that data, then you interpret from that data, and then the equilibrium diagram is in front of you presenting some information. But during this course of conducting the experiments, taking the readings, collecting the data, plotting the data, interpreting the data, you might have made some mistakes, and you definitely make whenever there is some experimental work done. Now, there should be someone who in the end checks for you that the equilibrium diagram that you are going to present in front of the public and say that this is the equilibrium diagram of iron carbon system, or this is the equilibrium diagram of copper nickel, or this is the equilibrium diagram of lead and tin. Before you actually start using that equilibrium diagram, which has been prepared with the help of some experimental methods, you need to make yourself sure that that equilibrium diagram is not containing any errors, any mistakes, any flaws. The data that it would give me, suppose if I say that at this particular composition, pressure and temperature, what are the phases present? The information that should be coming from the equilibrium diagram should be absolutely correct. So this Gibbs phase rule is one very simple, very indispensable, very, very important tool, which very simply tells you whether a given equilibrium diagram is correct or not. So, and I'll discuss with, okay, let me see, there is some question coming up. See, somebody is asking now that for all rigid bodies, pressure does not affect the body. So this property is therefore neglected. So why only for alloys do we use the condensed Gibbs phase energy? Why not for pure metals or for very rigid non-metals which are very stable at atmospheric pressure? Very good question. You see, if I may be able to answer it, first of all, when you draw the equilibrium diagram for any entity, you at least have to have two axes. Am I correct in saying that if you have to show, see how do we define an equilibrium? See here, please don't use the word body. Here use the term materials system. Right? Here we are using the term material system. Now, when you are using a material system, and if you wish to know that what type of properties this material system would show me, or how do I change the properties of this material system, you should know that how can I change the microstructure of this material system, because properties would change only when the microstructure changes. So indirectly, when you are drawing an equilibrium diagram, the variables that you are using are the same variables which actually can act as variables for that material system, so that if I change those parameters or variables, the microstructure changes and hence the properties change. Now, you will tend to take all important variables. The problem with the pure metals is that composition is not a variable. For alloys, composition is a very, very important parameter. If you change it, properties drastically change. Iron carbon alloy, if it contains 1% carbon, it's a steel, has got some property, but if it has now 2.2% carbon, it becomes a cast iron. Properties totally different. So फॉर प्योर मेटल्स आपकी मजबूरी ये है कि प्योर मेटल्स में आपके पास टेम्परेचर के अलावा कोई वेरिएबल है ही नहीं। तो जब आपने ढूंढा यार कॉम्पोजिशन तो हो नहीं सकता, कोई और तो मिले, नहीं तो मैं इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम क्या बनाऊंगा, वेरिएशन क्या करूंगा, प्रॉपर्टीज कैसे बदलूंगा। इंटरेस्टिंगली प्रेशर चेंजेस मेक ए लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंस टू द metals. When I discuss the equilibrium diagram for pure iron with you, you'll see most of the important changes are coming because of changes in the pressure. और वो हम कोई जानबूझकर नहीं कर रहे, वो हम इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि हमारे पास टेम्परेचर के अलावा और कुछ है ही नहीं. सो व्हेन आई हैव टू ड्रॉ इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम ऑफ ए प्योर मेटल, मेरी चाहे आप मजबूरी मान लो चाहे जो मर्जी, वन ऑफ द एक्सेस इज कंटेनिंग टेम्परेचर, अदर हैज टू कंटेन प्रेशर. But in your alloy systems, it has been noted that pressure changes are not easy to bring, nor they are as significant as our temperature and composition. तो जब आपका टेम्परेचर और कॉम्पोजिशन को बदल कर ही सारा काम बन जाता है, आप प्रेशर को नहीं छेड़ते, आप उसको फिक्स कर देते हो 1 atm पे. I hope it is clear. Okay, thank you so much. Then there is another question which has come up that, sir, can you tell the full experimental procedure to draw a phase diagram? Yes, definitely. When I'll start with the first equilibrium diagram with you, that would be after pure iron, that would be for an alloy, it would be of copper and nickel. So we'll completely discuss the procedure of one of the experimental methods, very simple method and very useful. That's called thermal analysis. And when I am discussing thermal analysis, just after that, I'll also give you a glimpse of what happens in dilatometry, what happens in quantitative metallurgy, what happens in X-ray diffraction. So we'll get to discuss that. I hope that's fine. Okay, thank you. So students, as I said, the second main application and the major application of Gibbs phase rule is that it helps you in checking whether a constructed equilibrium diagram is correct or is it containing errors and needs to be modified. Because the lines over here are also saying that generally an equilibrium diagram is constructed and it is constructed through experimental methods. Here somebody could have asked me that, sir, if we do not have the experimental mechanisms available with us, we cannot plot equilibrium diagram? No. These days we have commercial softwares available. JMat Pro is one, Thermocalc is another, and there are so many others which are available. Most popularly used are Thermocalc and JMat Pro, right? But they are very, Thermocalc I think is an open access software, but JMat Pro would cost you about 10 lakh rupees per seat. But these are wonderful softwares, and with our PG and PhD students, we work with these software. So it's not that if experimental methods are not available, then we cannot draw the the equilibrium diagram. But if we want very, very accurate data, extremely, because those diagrams will have to be validated through some trial experiments, right? So the first thing that you should do, if facilities are available, you should always use an experimental method. The software part which I was discussing would be more useful when you have to do something under non-equilibrium conditions. That now if you do not want to treat your system under because equilibrium diagrams would tell you phases present in a material system under different conditions only when the system was treated under equilibrium conditions. If a system is not treated under equilibrium conditions, Gibbs rule is not valid. Equilibrium diagram is not meant for such systems which have been treated under non-equilibrium conditions. So probably there the software part is more relevant, more useful. Okay, let's come back. How does this Gibbs phase rule help you in checking the accuracy of an equilibrium diagram? बच्चों मैं बड़ी जल्दी समझा देता हूं, then I'll wind up. I have another meeting in about 15 minutes to start. देखिए आपको क्या करना है, after the equilibrium diagram has been constructed, please go to the diagram and find out how many single phase regions are there, how many two phase regions are there, how many three phase regions are there. Means different type of regions को आप locate कर लीजिए. और जैसे मैंने डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम में आपके साथ डिस्कस किया था, go to every region and ask the equilibrium diagram, please tell how many degrees of freedom are present in the material system at this temperature and pressure. जैसे कि आप इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम में किसी सिंगल फेज रीजन में बच्चों चले गए, पहली सिंगल फेज रीजन में, उस सिंगल फेज रीजन में आपके पास एक फेज है, कितने कंपोनेंट का मटेरियल सिस्टम है आपको पता है, सिंगल कंपोनेंट है, 2 कंपोनेंट है, 3 कंपोनेंट है, जो भी आपने मटेरियल सिस्टम ले रखा है। तो आप अब डायग्राम में जब सिंगल फेज रीजन पर हो तो देखो आप किन किन पैरामीटर्स को वेरी कर सकते हो इंडिपेंडेंटली, तब भी ताकि फेजेस चेंज ना हो। जैसे हमने डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम में किया था, पता कर लिया कि सर इस रीजन में डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम इतना है, सपोज आंसर आया 2। अब आप इसी रीजन पर स्ट्रेट अवे लगाओ गिब्स फेज रूल, P प्लस एफ इज इक्वल टू C+1 या C+2, जो भी आपका मटेरियल सिस्टम और उसकी कंडीशंस हैं, उस हिसाब से अप्रोप्रिएट गिब्स फेज रूल उसी रीजन में लगाओ। F का आंसर फिर ढूंढो। बच्चों अलग अलग रीजन्स में जाकर यही काम करो, किसी भी फेज रीजन में जाओ इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम की, और इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम से पहले पूछो कि बता भाई तेरी इस रीजन में सिस्टम के पास कितने डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम हैं, आंसर आ गया F का। और इसी रीजन में फिर गिब्स फेज रूल लगाकर F का आंसर ढूंढो। अगर स्टूडेंट्स द इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, कहीं भी F की वैल्यू जो कि आपने डायग्राम से पता की थी और जो कि आपने उसी जगह पर गिब्स फेज रूल से पता की थी, उसमें मिसमैच नहीं आएगा। मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में ऐसा ही होगा कि आप कहोगे सर मैं तो इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम की हर जगह पे चला गया, हर फेज रीजन में चला गया। जैसे बच्चों आपको याद होगा हमने डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम समझने के लिए एक प्योर सिस्टम का इक्विलिब्रियम डायग्राम बनाया था, उसमें 3 सिंगल फेज रीजन्स थी, 3 ही उसमें 2 फेज रीजन्स थी, एक उसमें ट्रिपल पॉइंट था, तो 7 रीजन्स थी। आप उस डायग्राम की सातों रीजन्स में एक एक करके जाओ, पहले डायग्राम से पूछो बता भाई कितने डिग्रीज ऑफ फ्रीडम है इस रीजन में तेरे पास, और फिर वहीं गिब्स फेज रूल लगाकर पता करो कि F बता तेरे पास कितने हैं। F का आंसर जो डायग्राम से आया है और जो गिब्स फेज रूल से आया है, अगर हर रीजन के लिए सेम आ रहा है, the diagram is absolutely correct. But students, mind it, if even you find out one region in your equilibrium diagram where the answer for degrees of freedom coming from the diagram and then from the Gibbs phase rule is not matching, you cannot challenge the Gibbs phase rule. Absolutely your diagram is wrong. And this diagram again needs to be relooked, reinvestigated, और पक्का आपको गलती मिल जाएगी कि ओ हो ये ब्लंडर किया हुआ था, और आप फिर डायग्राम को ठीक करेंगे, मॉडिफाई करेंगे। मॉडिफाई करने के बाद आज आप फिर डायग्राम में F का आंसर दोनों सोर्सेस से ढूंढोगे, आपको पैरिटी मिल जाएगी। जब ये हर जगह पैरिटी मिल जाए, द डायग्राम इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट। Okay, I have 2 queries coming up in the chat box. Let me see. Yes, definitely. Somebody asked me that in the background, the software is also working on experimental results only. Definitely, it's working on experimental results only. What it is doing for you is it is doing those interpolations and extrapolations, which would have been very costly if you start doing experiments for different conditions. So when you have different conditions in mind, you have this reference data stored in the database of the software, and all manipulations for different conditions, they are being done by the software, right? So that is how a software works for you in this case. I hope I have answered it. Then yes, I'll upload the slides for sure, right? And I'm not sure about the videos, right? But I think slides should be very helpful, and these sessions that I'm taking with you should be helpful. You should make a habit of taking small notes and go through the slides. If there are any queries, you are always welcome to ask me. I'll definitely upload the slides in the evening today. So students, can we wind up for today? I can take 1 or 2 questions if you feel like. Otherwise, whosoever wants to leave can leave. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, you are welcome to ask. Okay, students, thank you very much.